I appreciate it and I reject it.
I fully disagree. Thank you. Goodbye.
You are wrong.
I think I'm part of the problem.
I'm the polar opposite. I spend my life justifying the reasons why I think I deserve more plants. What would you do if, like, one of your plants was to just obviously go missing out of nowhere and then you started just seeing it in my videos?
Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. Today we've got the very lovely Claire, aka the Jungle Haven, here. One of my absolute best friends. We're gonna do a video where we talk about your controversial houseplant opinions or your houseplant hot takes. Spilling the tea.
I've only just found out what hot takes means.
It's just a controversial opinion. Basically, I put out a call on social media, on my YouTube community page, and on Instagram, asking for people's controversial houseplant opinions. And I've got a whole big list here on my phone of some things that people think, but we may or may not agree with.
Ooh, interesting.
I think that'd be fun that we could just like chat through them and laugh and just have a good time.
Perfect.
So feel free to pop this on while you're doing plant tours or something, or just like, I feel like this is kind of a podcasty style video because we're not showing anything really, but for the most part I feel like it'll be chill podcast vibes. So feel free to grab something and do some work, or just not even watch and just potter around and take care of your plants while we go. Potter. Yes. So before we get into it though, I want to say, if you're new here and you don't know me already, hi, my name is Emma and I make houseplanty content all over the internet. So if you want to follow along with my houseplanty journey and maybe learn something along the way, stick around and watch some more of my videos and subscribe to my channel. Boom! If you're not new here, welcome back. I really appreciate you returning. Let's get on into it. The first one that I want to talk about is one that was commented over and over and over and over again. Okay. Like constantly. And it is that people think that variegation makes plants look sick and ugly.
We were kind of talking about this earlier, weren't we?
Yeah, so we did film a video for Claire's channel as well.
We've changed since then. It was a very messy video.
Yeah, I'll link it down below in the description.
What are your thoughts?
Well, so yes and no. On some plants, I definitely think it makes them look ill. Like if the variegation causes texture in the plant's leaves, that makes me feel like it's sick. But like a Monstera albo, I don't think that looks ill.
No, I know what you mean. I think it depends as well on like what kind of variegation it is, because if it's block variegation, like we were talking about variegated anthuriums, for example, and personally I'm not a massive fan, but if I could find like an anthurium clarinervium that had half moon variegation, I think I would love it. I think it's just because like the dappled kind of speckledness of it can sometimes...
Mottled variegation.
Mottled variegation. Yeah, like minty variegation often is.
Yes, mint variegation definitely I feel like looks like a disease.
Yeah.
Like
mosaic disease or something.
Yeah. Remember that scare? That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
I also, going on with that, I don't like yellow variegation.
It's not my go-to either, if I'm being honest. It's not what I'm drawn to. However, there have been, like, for example, the Philodendron Bellmarks Variegata.
Yeah.
That one a lot of the time is much more yellowy in its I don't think it's...
But I'd call that like green on green almost.
Yeah.
I guess some might be yellow. Mine is more green.
I don't know. Have you got a variegated one?
Yeah.
I didn't know this. I didn't know this, or I forgot.
Yeah.
Yeah, typically I'm with you. Typically I would prefer
like
my variegation to
Monstera aurea.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
Dislike.
Yeah, not massive on that one.
Yeah, I just think the yellow variegation, it looks too close to the plant being like underwatered, overwatered, like just yellowing in the leaves.
Yeah. But then like something like the neon pothos is completely yellowy.
I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of
Are
neon
you not? I see.
Is that a hot take?
Yeah, like it's not my go-to. If I had to design my favourite plant, I would probably opt for, in fact, I would 100% opt for like, not necessarily block white variegation, but like defined. When it kind of fades into the other colours, I just think it looks a bit accidental and kind of like you spilt something on a leaf.
Yeah. I do agree with that, but there's also some plants that I just absolutely really love it on, and I wouldn't want to not have a variegated one of.
I think what I do like is when something like the Variegated Alocasia Frydek, when they give you kind of typically like a mix of leaves that have a combination of block and mottled variegation,
Yeah.
because then it feels intentional.
Yeah, it's like when the variegation looks intentional.
Yeah,
But
which I know is just a
yeah.
strange thing to say, but
There's lots of plants where it doesn't. And
yeah.
I agree that I think it can make plants look sick and ugly. And it's crazy that people pay more money for a plant that, in my opinion, looks worse.
I mean, obviously people just see things differently. And again,
Yeah.
we were saying earlier how like both of us with certain genuses, genii,
Genera.
that's the
Genre.
one, that's the one, with certain genre of plants have done kind of a complete 360. Like there's certain types of plants that a year ago I would be like, nope, not for me. I don't think I'm ever going to like this kind of plants. And then I come around to it. So I'm like, never say never. I can't see myself. What are you thinking?
I'm just trying. I feel like I cannot see myself coming around to it. Like I don't think I'm. Again, don't say never, but never.
Yeah, interesting.
I really don't like it.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair enough. There's something for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not like, we don't want to yuck your yum. Also, these are just our opinions. I should have probably said that at the beginning. This
I've
is
never heard
just
that expression before.
our opinions.
Yuck your yum.
Yeah, I don't want to yuck your yum.
Ah,
yeah.
Okay, I like it. Yeah. I mean, isn't it great that we don't all like the same thing, because then there'll be nothing
Oh
left
my
for
God.
anyone, and
True
all
that.
our collections would look the same, and life would be really freaking boring. So
Yes. Yeah, it's good to have variety in here.
absolutely.
Someone says that people shouldn't buy plants big, they should grow them.
I think it depends. So, for example, if you are just getting into houseplants, and for example, you've got a really blank space in your house and you've got a corner and you're like, I would love to just add some greenery there. Why would you want to get a teeny tiny thing and like put it in that corner? You'd want something that's going to fill that gap. I 100% nowadays prefer, on the whole, buying things that are smaller and growing them myself, because it's part of the joy, and I love watching things grow and size up and feeling like I've been able to do that. But also, I think it's fine to buy plants big sometimes. I think if you've got the space.
Yeah. You also don't have any space for big plants. You
No.
could not buy yourself a big plant
No.
and fit it into your home. And neither could I, to be honest.
Exactly.
So like, I think I have a very similar opinion to you on that one, in that it makes sense for certain things, but the journey is really important. And I guess I think the majority of people who are buying big houseplants are not houseplant people.
Yeah.
I think they're just people who want to have a big statement piece in their home because it looks nice.
Oh, sorry, well, your camera's right below that. Maybe, like, I think there's definitely some truth to that. I know I've gone plant shopping with a really good friend of mine who's recently got a house, and she is wanting to add some plants and make it feel very green without having to do that much. And so obviously buying a massive plant as opposed to adding 10 little plants in that corner is going to make her life so much easier. And why wouldn't she do that? I remember when I was at my mum's house, I wanted to have create more greenery in my background that was like, I don't know, kind of like a green wall effect. And I managed to find a philodendron that just trailed down, and it was huge. And yes, I could have grown that myself, but I wanted it then.
I want it now.
I want it now. But yeah, again, like, this is something that I think your opinion and feelings towards probably change depending on the size of your space and on the size of your collection, and on like how much time you've got to dedicate to plant care. Because if you want a massive green space, get 6 huge plants instead of 600 tiny ones. You'll spend 5 minutes a week on plant care. Yeah.
I was going to say also, the time it takes to grow a big plant from something quite small, especially for slow growing things, is so much time.
Yeah.
And so like, if, like you said, if you need it for this space in this way, having it now makes way more sense.
Oh my God, absolutely. Like, can you imagine if you wanted to create a big old wall of pothos enjoy?
Yeah.
Like, you'd be there for years.
Years. Yeah, I think that's a pretty... I see both sides to it.
Yeah, me too.
Sometimes plant collecting is just a disguised shopping addiction. I've accused you of that before.
I know. I know I do shop for plants too much. Like I even if it's just cuttings and stuff, I am always looking online. I'm always scouring the internet. But also I don't think it like in fact I know for a fact it is not that I'm not happy with my plant collection because I
Oh yeah.
love my plants and I don't typically, I do have periods of feeling totally overwhelmed by them, but typically I love my plant care and I
Yeah,
love,
you do love your plant
yeah,
care.
I love it. And like, I love being able to take like a few hours a week to just do planty things.
Yeah.
And often if I'm really on top and then I run out of things to do, then I'm like, I need more. I need more. And I'm like, well, that's good because there's loads that I want. And then the
Fair.
cycle continues.
Fair.
But
Yeah. I mean, I do think in some cases it can be a disguised shopping addiction, for
mm,
sure. But not every case. But I
yeah.
do accuse you
I
of that
know.
on the regular. You just buy houseplants all the time,
I
and maybe it's just
know.
coming from a place of envy. So I'm
Well,
like,
no, I mean,
I can't do that, and Claire can, so I'm gonna be bitch about it.
but also I think you've had a really sensible year of, I mean, what do you went 6 months without buying anything,
Yeah.
which is incredible. I don't think in 6 years I've gone 6 months without buying a plant. I really don't. Um, like even if I have a period where I only buy cuttings for a couple of months, and that's good for me.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I do like swap and I trade and like I I don't know, like I've got some things that like I'll chop right back and then I'll like give
My
bits
plants
away.
die, and I need to replace them.
Yeah, I mean it happens from time to time. On the whole, I don't use plants that
No. I'm not
often.
saying that you do, but it's just like you're making
It happens.
excuses.
No, I know I'm full of excuses, but I also just I think part of the joy of having plants, yes, of course, is growing them yourself and watching their
Oh
journey, but
yeah.
also like there are so many amazing
So
ones and you want to grow or I want to grow
all of them.
all of them
It's like
exactly.
Pokemon, you gotta collect them all.
Yeah, it really is. So yeah, it is a slight addiction. I know I joke about it, but I'm sure it
Yeah.
is.
I mean, uh, do you think there's a difference between a houseplant addiction and a houseplant shopping addiction? I mean, yes, but
Ye- Well, I mean,
do you think you're addicted to buying houseplants?
I think I could absolutely go
Could you go cold turkey?
for how long? Like never buy a plant again.
Yeah.
I mean, I absolutely could and I
That's
would.
what
And
they all say.
I know, I know. I mean, I don't like. I mean, it's granted it's only halfway through the month, but I haven't bought a plant this year. Um, I have no plans to buy any more plants at the moment. I've obviously got a wish list of plants that I'd like to
Yeah.
get at some point. Um, yeah, I mean, I do feel satisfied and happy with my plant collection. I think I could not, but also
Why
I
would
genuinely get
you?
so much
Yeah.
joy
Yeah.
from the excitement of getting a new plant. There is nothing like it, honestly. Like I have been a planty person for quite a long time now, and I've also been
Yeah.
making videos for a fair amount of time. And opening a new plant still gives me the same amount of joy as it did when I first got into houseplants.
Absolutely.
And I can't say that about anything else. It still gives me such a buzz.
Yeah.
So so
A
yeah,
hundred
like
percent.
why would I stop treating myself?
Yeah, no, I agree because it's like when I did my first haul after that 6 months of no buy, um, it felt so
Yeah, I
good to
bet.
get like, oh my god, it was the best feeling
Yeah.
ever. I'm just like, I forgot how nice it is to just
Mhm.
hold new plants in my hands. It sounds so pathetic, but
No,
like
it
it's
doesn't. It doesn't because like I can't. I mean, God, this is such a first world thing to say, but I
yeah,
really can't imagine going that period of time without getting myself new plants.
yeah,
I can't though. Like I love it, and I invest my time and my money into
yeah.
what I consider to be a very healthy, wholesome addiction. I think there's
I mean,
far
yeah,
less.
you could be doing drugs.
I could be, and I'm not.
Exactly. So like obviously there are worse things out there, but it's just like I think some people do get to the point where they are spending more money than they're making on
Mm,
houseplants, where it does become an actual shopping addiction. I don't think either of us have that necessarily, but I think it does happen to people
mm.
and they get to the point where they are not living in a healthy way with this sort of shopping houseplant shopping addiction,
Yeah,
which is
I
scary.
think as well, like a lot of because and I think we've had this conversation before actually, but like because the houseplant world nowadays is typically so accessible a lot of the time. Like you can pick plants up for a couple of pounds anywhere. Like it doesn't even have to be a garden centre. Your local Tesco, like a petrol station, you can
Yeah.
get a house plant. They have become seemingly more disposable,
Oh, absolutely.
which is such a problem. And I think then going back to the like continuously buying plants, like for example, you come home with a pothos plant and it dies a week later and you go, oh, well, that's fine. I'll buy another one. I'll buy another one. I'll buy another one. And that then, that's not healthy. And also I think we need to remind ourselves that that's really not right. Because you are bringing a living thing into your collection. Obviously, no one ever intends to kill plants, but I think, I think educate yourself and
Yeah.
like if you want, I don't know, I'm justifying it for myself, but if you want to buy more because you're genuinely loving the hobby or something goes a bit wrong, but like so long as you're not guaranteeing that to be the
Yeah.
fix,
Yeah, absolutely.
I think.
Somebody else has commented saying plants in offices, stores, restaurants are usually not looked after and riddled with pests. 100%. I see this all the time. Do you like, have you ever gone into a restaurant and like seen a houseplant and you're just like, there's just like mealybugs all over it, and you're just like,
Oh no.
I'm just
Oh,
sitting there and I'm just like,
oh gross.
ah!
I've never like seen mealybugs or like pests or anything, but like we were literally out at dinner a couple of weeks ago and they had these Howie acacia palm
Yeah,
things.
yeah, yeah.
And they were all just like dying at the bottom, and they were so beautiful. And I mean, classic example of buying a plant big to fill a
Oh,
space.
absolutely.
The restaurants often do that with these types of plants, and like it was like towering to the ceiling, and it was so pretty, and it was clearly on its way out. And I was just like, no one's gonna save this plant.
I do feel really bad for like restaurants and stuff when they have houseplants and then they're just dying.
I
But I have
know.
seen some really bad ones, and it's just like it makes me feel ill. Like I almost don't want to eat there.
Yeah. Oh my God. Can you like
There's
eating next to
pests.
mealybugs?
There's pests.
Mealybugs. Mealybugs are so gross. You
But
don't
a
want them in
food
your food.
inspector is not going to be there like, your plant has a mealybug.
You know, I mean, obviously, it's probably not going to do like
Oh my god!
awful
Oh my
things to
god!
your
I can't.
health. Yeah, but
That's
that's
making me
so gross.
ill.
That is something that they should look at,
They should.
in my opinion.
They totally should. That's so gross.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh.
Mm. Yeah, not nice at
No,
all.
thank you. But yeah, I see that all the time.
Mm. Ooh.
Oh, hot take. Most tropical/jungle plants look pretty much the same. Succulents are more diverse and interesting.
Interesting.
I don't agree.
Personally, neither. I guess it depends how you view things. Like,
I have said on multiple occasions that I don't think all anthuriums, but a lot of anthuriums look the same.
they do.
And I find that there's not much point in having massive amounts of anthurium variety because a lot of them look... Obviously, there's like the Pallidiflorum versus the Clarnerium. They look so different. But it's like the Crystallinum versus the Magnificum versus the Regal. I feel like they all look similar enough that you can get the same vibes without having all of them.
I know what you mean. For some reason, though, the void isn't filled by...
It's filled. In my home, at least.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I really do get the person that said this because, like, I often have the tendency to look at, like, cacti and succulents and just, like, think... I mean, not always, because obviously I can recognise the fact they are diverse.
Yeah.
But it's very easy for me to just look at them and be like, oh, they kind of all look like a...
Do they, Claire? Do they, Claire?
Like a spiky thing in a pot. And it's very easy to kind of group them together, I think, if you don't have a specific interest in them.
Yes.
I love cacti and succulents, but I know that my forte is tropical plants.
Yeah.
And therefore you like look for the differences in them more, maybe.
Yeah, I think it probably just depends on sort of like people's tastes, and someone who lives out in the desert and collects cacti and succulents is going to see more variety and like see something, okay, like maybe this one's a slightly different color than that one and you still want it. Because it's just like the global green versus the enjoy. They're basically the same plant with different coloration. You're like, I need both of them.
Yeah.
But they look the same otherwise.
Yeah.
Whereas, I feel like that happens probably also in cacti and succulents. We're just not as privy to it because we don't pay attention to those as much.
Yeah, I would I think it is very much how you choose to view your plants. And again, like what you're interested in,
It's a very
because
political answer.
isn't it just?
People
But
gonna like what they like.
but I think like you do see things differently. Your perceptions change and shift. And like if you are a cacti and succulent person, of course you're gonna think that. And if you're a tropical houseplant person, then you look for the things that a
Make things
cacti and
different.
succulent person
Yeah.
might not see.
Yeah.
So yeah, I appreciate it and I reject it.
I fully disagree. Thank you. Goodbye.
You are wrong.
Hot take denied.
Every time you say hot take, I hear hot cake.
Hot cake.
Hot cake.
Oh, hot cake.
Hot cake. Oh, how great would that
We
be
should
right
have
now?
gone hot cake. Someone's said that ferns are actually very easy. People just lack the discipline to understand them.
I think it depends on your environment and the measures you put in place, because if you take out of the equation the environment, which I know you shouldn't when you're talking about houseplants, but if you just put that to one side for a second and you just think about like watering and light, your average person that maybe doesn't have everything in place for a houseplant can bring a fern home, and they're going to have, or not all ferns actually, but like a lot of ferns, they're going to have a tough time if they don't check things like the humidity and the temperature.
Yeah.
If you've got all those things in place, then I agree they can be very easy.
But is that not just taking the, like, having the discipline to figure it out? People are lacking that discipline.
I mean, maybe.
I think I'm lacking the discipline to try.
Yeah, I've got so few ferns in my collection now. I mean, I must say my Boston fern is very good. I mean, it's actually right now living in just like standard room conditions, but it's very good at telling me when it's thirsty. I notice its colour change like almost instantly. I'm like, oh, you need a drink. And then within hours, it'll be perky again.
So I've never actually had a Boston fern, so I can't really comment on them. But whenever I've had ferns in the past, I've massively struggled, and I haven't taken the time to pay attention. So I think I'm part of the problem with ferns. It's not them, it's me. Most people have too many plants to take care of them well and would be happier with less, but have plant FOMO, aka fear of missing out.
There is some truth to that, I think.
It's such a political answer.
I don't know why I'm being
We're
so
trying to be controversial here, Claire.
There are some days where I do feel like, God, this is overwhelming, and there are like pests going on a plant that I haven't had a chance to look at for a few days, and I've known about them, but I'm ignoring them, and things that probably shouldn't be the case. But it keeps me on my toes. My plants are rarely in awful condition. In fact, most of the time, I'd say they're in pretty good condition.
Nice plants.
Thanks. So yeah, like I get obviously overconsumption. It's very easy to just be like, I want everything that's new and trendy and tick it off the list.
I get plant FOMO massively.
Yeah.
But when I last year allowed myself to not fall into the trap of that, I found that I was much happier with my collection, and I found it much easier, and I didn't get as many pests, and I haven't had a big outbreak in a really long time, and things are just a lot easier, and that is because I didn't succumb to the plant FOMO.
Yeah.
And I think it's true. I think most people would be happier with less, but it's hard because I want them.
Yeah, I know. And I think as well, social media wise, and obviously
we're not helping.
We're
in
not.
That
We're
department.
not. I mean, I have comments on my channel sometimes being like, "Why are you just trying to promote all the plants?" And I'm like, "I'm not. I genuinely just want to talk about my love of these plants with the people that I know will appreciate it, because no one else in my life appreciates it."
100%.
But in doing so, obviously, people are going to see that, and they're going to see the beauty that I see, and then they're going to want to go out and get the plant for themselves. And I do the same. I will watch other people's videos and Instagram and all these beautiful pictures of plants looking wonderful, and you just want them.
Yeah. It's so easy to fall into that trap. I don't know how I managed to like get around it last year.
You did so well.
I think so. I think part of it is when I set my mind to something, I get like I'm extremely black and white with how I think about things, and my brain goes, "No, you can't do that," and I'm not allowed. That's the end of the conversation. I'm not allowed to have the things even if I want it, and I won't let myself, and I'll be disappointed in myself if I do it. And that is enough to like I think my brain thinks I'm morally bad if I do the thing that I know that's probably not a healthy mindset, but that's what got me through
I was going
it.
to say, I'm the polar opposite. I spend my life justifying the reasons why I think I deserve more plants. But no, I get that. And I mean, I don't think, I think it is good, especially when you've got a big collection, to have
Yeah.
periods of time with your collection without having to feel like you need to constantly be improving it
yeah.
or adding to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still don't. I'm still amazed at myself. I don't know how.
It's a huge achievement. It's something that I would struggle to do myself.
Give it a go.
I don't want to.
Okay, I personally agree with this one, though I don't like to promote it. Using chemical pest control reduces stress.
Yes. Can do.
Yeah.
I think it depends. I've had mixed experiences with like pesticides, like chemical pesticides, like Provanto and stuff like that. I always have some in the cupboard. And I always say, like, if it ever gets to the point where I think like there's a plant that I physically can't isolate, it's really getting me down and worrying and affecting my mental health. And like I just need the problem done, then yes, I'll go in with that. The danger is obviously when you use something like that, pests can become like resistant, yeah, and essentially immune to the pesticides. And when that happens, you're going to be back to sponging your plant down and doing all of the things, but probably much longer term.
Yeah. But like you said, there are points where it's like, obviously, I would highly encourage everybody to try and use biological pest control, to try and use chemical-free options, and to use preventative instead of reactive. 100%. I fully believe that. But there have been times when it's just like, I cannot get rid of this plant. It's been so difficult to get rid of in all of the natural ways
Yeah.
that it's just like, I will resort to, it's my last resort.
Yeah.
And
Oh, 100%.
it's either that or the plant goes downhill.
Yeah. And again, at the end of the day, do what works best for you and your collection.
Yeah.
Like, it is totally up to you how you do things, and there's no right or wrong way.
People would argue that chemical pesticide is the wrong way.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't encourage
Environmentally, it is technically the wrong
within
way.
a home environment. It's a little bit different when you're doing it with outdoor gardening, though, isn't it?
Yes and no, because if you're using things like Provanto, one, it's really bad for you as a person to breathe in, as well as pets. And also, after it's done being active, it still lingers on your plant. And if you wash your plant down later, those chemicals still go into the water.
Yeah, no, I guess there is definitely a point to be made for that. I was going to say my big Monstera, like a couple of months ago, I completely prevented the whole thing because I found thrips on the back of a leaf, and I was like, there's nowhere else this plant can go.
Yeah.
Like, it's right in the corner of my room. It's ginormous.
You can't isolate it.
I can't isolate it, and it's touching other plants. And if I didn't, I can do all of the other things. I can go in with horticultural soap. I can do all of the other good things. But if I don't go in with something to just eradicate the problem and stop the breeding cycle in its tracks, then chances are all of my plants in that area are going to get it, and then I'm going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, I've said it before as well. I mean, I think we both have, but like my collection is never pest free ever. Like, there will always be at least one or two, like so long as it doesn't turn into an infestation. I probably shouldn't be saying this. But for me, whenever you bring a plant into your house or a new soil into your house, you're bringing stuff in with it, whether or not you know it. I think having
Not
one
always,
or two,
but
a lot of the time though, because like sometimes you'll have a plant that's been totally fine in the soil, and then all of a sudden you'll find like mealybugs or something.
yeah,
That could have come in with the soil and been lying dormant for months.
Okay, that grosses me out.
But also we always like bang on about companies like Soil Ninja and things that don't treat their soils, and they don't heat their soils, and they don't use essentially pesticides to like cleanse their soils first. So of course we're bringing in stuff. We bring in the good stuff, we bring in the bad stuff.
True. We can't discriminate. You can't. physically discriminate, because also any sort of pesticide is going to kill any sort of good microbiome in your soil.
Exactly.
And all of the good bugs and the springtails and all of those things will also be eradicated by chemical pesticides.
Yeah.
Whereas when you have something like predatory mites, they can actually target, which is very, I find that so strange that it actually like targets specific things. But they're not like a foolproof.
Yeah.
They if it gets really bad, aside from locking your plant in a box with full of the predatory biological pest control, like outside of that, probably not going to sort the problem.
Yeah. I just think like aim for a consistently manageable level of pestage. Like I know people don't want to hear that, but at the same time, like if you find a thrip here or there, like I find a thrip every week at least. Sometimes I find, I do. Like
I think part of that is because of my collection of
maybe, but also, and that is amazing. That is amazing. But like I will often just be like, oh, there's one, and I'll just squish it, and I won't see another one for a while. But it's never like, unless it turns to like a level where I'm like, oh my god, there's loads of them. I typically don't panic.
Yeah.
That's just me personally.
But I think that comes with years of experience and having, because the first time I found thrips on my plant, I felt like I was disgusting.
Oh my god,
it freaked me out. And like I would find one and I'd be like, this is awful. But now I'll see one and it's like, okay, well, it doesn't matter. So I think it just does come with experience and having dealt with them so many times, you just kind of get used to it and it's okay. But yeah, I don't have pests at the minute.
Yeah, that's really great.
Unless you count fungus gnats, I have those all the time. But I don't count that as pests.
I don't have that many fungus gnats. I count them as...
You do.
I'm actually waiting on a nematode treatment at the moment, but
I don't think it's a problem. When you have this many houseplants, I think it's almost impossible to not have fungus gnats.
Yeah.
You can reduce them, but you will probably never, especially if you don't have yellow sticky traps, you will never get rid of all of them.
True.
But yeah, I have loads of those, but I don't consider them pests because they don't actually like harm your plants really, unless they get really bad and then like the roots. But
yeah, true. Yeah, I think like I do think it's like it depends, doesn't it? Because a few years ago would have been freaked out finding like the odd pest here or there, and maybe it is also because like everything of mine is in very close proximity. Everything touches. If one thing's got something, it's probably going to be on the next plant as well. I monitor my plants pretty well, I think. I'm sure I could be doing better, but like it never feels... I can't remember the last time I was overwhelmed with pests.
Yeah.
Like felt like, oh my god, I can't deal with this. Usually I'm just like,
yeah, fair. Next. Someone said that they think some plant influencers borrow plants to take pictures for Instagram and don't really grow them. Not me.
I mean, not me either, but I'm sure it happens. I'm sure it happens. It happens like with any...
But do you think a plant I think influencers probably do, but a plant influencer?
I don't know. Like, I mean, none that I know.
Yeah.
For example, when I was talking about wishlist plants the other day, I was talking about the alocasia Sarian, and some of the pictures that I was looking at of the Sarian were like, it was positioned in a spot where I was like, it would never grow that big in that spot. Like, you've clearly moved it just for a good photo. That plant would not survive there. So yeah, like I guess if people are willing to set up the perfect shot for social media in that sense, then they're probably willing to... I don't know. I mean, it seems, unless you've got lots of very planty friends, it seems like...
Because like, how do you rent a plant, a different plant each day? Like, where's the service? How can I get it?
Yeah, I don't know. And like, even if, because I was going to say, obviously we see each other a lot, and like, we've both got plants.
Yeah.
But like, people would likely be like, hang on, that's Emma's plants.
Probably.
But I think people would recognise.
I think they probably, like, it depends how distinctive you think your plants are. Do you think they're distinctive?
I think I'd recognise all my plants.
I was just going to say, what if we could do an experiment?
That would be fun.
But how would we do that? It could be different if we lived next door to each other and I just like sneakily took a plant and then you're like, oh, that one's mine. But like, we don't. It would be me taking a plant back on the train and then you having to come to mine.
That would be fun, because I feel like Unless they're plants that I've got like in the last few months that maybe I don't have that bond with yet. Typically, I think I know I know most of my plants pretty well.
Yeah. To be honest, I think you're more likely though to notice that you're missing something
Yeah.
than that I have gained one of your plants. If
Yeah,
that were the case.
probably, yeah.
Like if we could somehow make it so I could clone one in or like Photoshop one into my
Yeah.
house. But otherwise, I don't know how people would actually be borrowing. Like, who are you borrowing the plants from?
Yeah, I know. Doesn't seem so. What would you do if like one of your plants was to just obviously go missing out of nowhere and then you started just seeing it in my videos?
Depending on the plant, I'd be very upset.
You're not surprised.
But like some of them, I'm like, yeah, sure, you can have it. But I think at that point, I would have already brought it to you.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'd wait to be offered the plant before just grabbing it and running.
Well, I think I'd also be quite cross that you would like steal from me.
I mean, I wouldn't. Just hypothetically.
Yeah, I'd be more cross at you than, yeah. Okay, this is a very specific one.
Okay.
Someone said Monster Adansonia looks like a slug has ravaged through it. I kind of agree.
Kind of agree, yeah.
It just looks like the plant's been eaten a bit.
Yeah. Fenestration can be weird, can't it? Especially when it's like a bit unpredictable like that. It's
Yeah.
not as uniform as like the Deliciosa.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah, because I wouldn't think either with the Raphidophora touch sperma. I don't think
No.
that one looks like a slug's gone through it. And it's got fairly similar leaf size to the Adansonia.
Yeah.
But the Adansonia does look like a slug's just gone.
Yeah. I think like it depends what state you see it in as well, because if it's
Yeah.
really mature, it looks more intentional, the
Yeah.
fenestrations, whereas if it's a younger one, it's just kind of like, oh, the odd hole here or there. It does very much look like something's been having a good chomp.
Yeah. Lots of sellers overcharge and justify it by making up a new name for the same plant. Do you think that happens?
I'm sure it happens. The thing that I see more often is inaccurately ID'd plants or people thinking that they what am I trying to say? Like for example, the Delta Force, the Anthurium Delta Force is something that in the last few years has like really blown up in the plant community, and it's really like the it plant.
The it Anthurium.
Yeah. I think it's a Clarinervium pedatatorium or something hybrid. It's something like that. The second one is definitely not the correct name. But anyway, obviously it's a very specific clone of a certain hybrid that makes the Delta Force. But there's been a lot of sellers that I've seen in the last year that have got Clarinervium cross pedata, whatever it's called, that have got just a cross of that plant and assume that it's a Delta Force. So they stick a huge price tag on it. I've seen multiple shops doing that. No.
I'm not as well versed in Anthurium hybridization as you.
So basically, let's say you have loads of seeds of the Clarinervium cross pedatoriatum. You're going to have to just put the name on the screen, Emma.
I will.
And you plant them all. The Delta Force, so one grew and people were like, oh my goodness, that is an amazing looking plant. Because obviously when you cross two Anthuriums, they can have different characteristics from both parent plants.
True.
And when they found this one that was like, oh my goodness, this one's amazing, they put it into tissue culture. That then became the Delta Force. So any plant that you get from tissue culture as the Delta Force, the reason why it's so expensive is because
it's from that original main.
Yes, and it will have all of the same characteristics as the original Delta Force.
It's a clone.
Yeah. So although you can get similar looking ones that are just crosses of the two parent plants, they're never going to be a Delta Force unless you've got it from the original clone, if that makes sense. But like I only found out more about this in the last year myself. Like there's a lot I still don't know, and there's a lot that obviously a lot of sellers don't know, because I've seen Delta Forces popping up here, there, and everywhere, and they're not actually Delta Forces. They're just hybrid Anthuriums that look very similar, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I do think
putting that price tag on it, and calling it a Delta Force,
not necessarily their fault. I'm sure there's some people that have done it intentionally, but typically I would just say it's lack of education in Anthurium hybridization.
I think also, coming from someone who's not as into Anthuriums, I think a lot of them, when they're growing as seedlings look very, very, very similar.
100%.
And so it would be so easy to like miss sell one, or miss, like, unless you're labeling every single one, which, I mean, if you are breeding anthuriums and selling them on, you should be.
Yeah.
But like, as a consumer, I wouldn't know the difference.
No.
And you wouldn't know until it's grown out whether
Yeah.
or not it is what it says it is. And
Yeah.
that to
And
me
sometimes
is
that
kind
can
of
take
scary.
like months, if not years. I've got some
Yeah.
ones that I've been growing from seed for like the last year and a half, and
Yeah.
still like you wouldn't be able to tell the exact identification on them.
Yeah.
I've heard of that happening a lot, actually. There's a couple of places that
Oh.
sell anthurium seeds, and I've heard that people have got something and paid a lot of money for the thing that they thought they had, and then it's the risk you take, unfortunately. You can find a reputable seller, look for good reviews, but it happens. It still happens.
This is why I'm glad I don't buy anthurium seeds.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, obviously, like, most people are honest, and, like, typically if a mistake happens, I think they probably step up and go, we'll fix that, but
If you don't know for months or years that a mistake has happened, then more likely than not, I feel like a shop would be like, that's your problem.
yeah,
So
exactly.
you couldn't tell from the seed.
Yeah. You're not going to know for ages, so.
Yeah. Kind of similar, like popular plants with high price tags are overrated.
Yeah, again, I think it's what you're in it for. Like,
I don't think any plant that's small should be costing like thousands of pounds.
I agree to a certain extent, but also some are like almost like unicorn plants, one of a kind.
Fine. Yes.
That like if there's only I also just want to point out I would never pay that money for a
I don't
small
have
plant,
that
or
money
like
for a
no. It's not what I'm prepared to pay, and I also don't necessarily think it's right. But if you've got thousands of pounds and there's something that is slow to grow, not easy to propagate, and probably won't hit the market for general population for the next 10 years, and you really want that plant.
Okay, but do you remember when the like one cutting of variegated Rufetophora tetrasperma sold for 12 grand?
Oh my god.
12,000
But
pounds.
and I don't understand that, because that is quick to grow and easy to propagate. So
and fairly stable.
yeah.
Like that, I think that is there's no logical reason that plant should have costed that much.
Totally agree.
I don't understand it.
It was new and the buzz was there and everyone got excited.
I mean, given I spent £100 on a cutting of one, which I still think is probably too much, and if I didn't really want one, I would have got it. But like, I really wanted one. But I don't think that they should cost that much more.
Yeah.
Like, they're so easy to propagate. It's a Rufetophora tetrasperma.
I was
going to
say, typically, like, it's same with the Monstera adansonii, where the back, I think it was at the beginning of lockdown, where the Monstera adansonii elbow was going for like £3,000 for a little cutting of the plant.
I could never.
No.
I think that is absolutely overrated.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think I could ever justify, even if I had just like £3,000 of disposable income that I could spend. I don't think I could justify that to myself.
No. I think as well, like, if it's a type of plant that is so slow to grow and you know that you would, like, I don't know, you're not going to get it any other way, I understand it more. But if it's something like the adansonii that grows like a weed,
it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, come here. Come here, baby.
I find it really difficult to wrap my head around it, at least.
Yeah, I couldn't do it myself.
Well, that's a fun note to end on.
This was really fun. I loved the hot takes.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to talk about like controversial houseplant opinions, because obviously everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and like no one's more right than anyone else. But it's fun to just get a bit juicy.
Yeah.
So thanks for hanging out with me. Like I said, we filmed a video on Claire's channel earlier, so if you want to watch us repot some like massive plants, and chat, just have a cozy plant chores time, I will link that down below in the description. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Feel free to include more hot takes down below in the comments.
We could do this again. This was fun.
Yeah, if you agree with any of these things or disagree, let us know. But yeah, otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up down below and leave a comment on other houseplanty things you'd like me to talk about in the future, or me and Claire to talk about. If you want to see more of her, let me know. But I mean, and subscribe. Thank you so much again, and I will see you in the next one. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Don't forget to keep growing. Bye!